Well, hello and welcome to today's Thought for the Day. It's Mark here and it's lovely to be with you and to share a short story from this book of tales called the Orthodox, I can't even speak, The Orthodox Heretic by Peter Rollins. Just a selection of thought-provoking stories and tales, designed to make us think. And today I'm going to be sharing with you the story Translating the Word. Let's begin. It's been said that many years ago there was a young and gifted woman called Sophia. And she received a vision in which God spoke to her as a dear friend. In the conversation, God asked that Sophia dedicate her life to the task of translating and distributing the Word of God throughout her country. Now, at this time, the printing press had only recently been invented, and the only Bibles that were to be found were written in Latin and kept under lock and key within churches. Sophia was from a poor farming village on the outskirts of the city, and so the task seemed impossible. She would have to raise a vast sum of money to purchase the necessary printing equipment, rent a building to house it, and hire translators and scholars with the ability to translate the Latin verses into the country's common tongue. Now, however, the impossibility of the task did not sway her in the least. And having received her vision, Sophia sold the last few items she possessed and left the village to live on the streets of the city, begging for the money that was required and dedicating herself to any work that was available in order to help with the funds. Well, raising the money proved to be a long and difficult task, for while there were some who gave generously, mostly they only gave little, if anything at all, and in addition to this, living on the streets involved great personal suffering. But gradually, and over the next 15 years, the money began to accumulate. Shortly before the plans for the printing press could be set in motion, a dreadful flood devastated a nearby town, destroying many people's homes and livelihood. When the news reached Sophia, she gathered up what she had raised and spent it on food for the hungry, material to help rebuild lost homes, and basic provision for the dispossessed. Well, eventually the town began to recover from the natural disaster that had befallen it, and so Sophia left and returned to the city in order to start all over again. All the while, she remembered the vision that God had planted deep in her heart. Well, many more years passed slowly, extracting their heavy toll on the beautiful Sophia. But there were many now who had been touched by her love and her dedication. And so although people were poor, the money began to accumulate once again. But after 9 more years, disaster again struck. This time a plague descended upon the city, stealing the lives of thousands and leaving many children without family or support. By now Sophia was tired and very ill, yet without hesitation, she used the money she had collected to buy medicines for the sick, homes for the orphaned, and land where the dead could be buried safely. But never once did she forget the vision that God had imparted to her, but the severity of the plague required that she set this sacred call to one side in order to help with the emergency. Only when the shadow of the plague had lifted did she once again take to the streets, driven by her desire to translate the Word of God and to distribute it among the people. Finally, shortly before her death, Sophia was able to gather together the money required for the printing press, the building, and the translators. Although by this time she was close to death, Sophia lived long enough to see the first Bibles printed and distributed. said to this day that Sophia actually accomplished her task of translating and distributing the word of God 3 times during her life, rather than just once, with the first 2 being more beautiful and radiant than the last.